Since I did my decorating the studio video, I have been desperate to do the same for the rest of the flat. I don't want to do too much. I do have a tendency to get a bit carried away, but I think there are a few areas here and there that could benefit from some colour. And since we can't paint the walls here, I thought what better than a few new pieces of art, some of my own of course, but I think it would be a great opportunity to support other artists as well. So to begin with, let me give you an idea of the spaces I want to fill, starting with this wall right here in the living room. Big empty wall in here, lots of visual real estate. So I'm thinking maybe something big like a gallery wall, or maybe a diptych or a triptych, but we do already have these prints in here. These are some great prints by Danlish, but those are staying there for sure. So I know that whatever else I'm going to add in here, I don't want it to be competing for attention. And then the only other spot in here would be over by the window. There's a little bit of blank wall space here, and I have somewhat of an idea of something that I might like to do there. There's a little hint of it there, if you can see. But we'll see once everything else is up if that's just going to be a bit too much going on the walls. And then the only other spaces are out here. Out here there isn't a huge amount of wall space, but I am planning on hanging up that Matisse print. And then moving on into the kitchen, I think that there is a good spot here on the wall that could maybe benefit from something, maybe. So the cogs are turning. Okay, Ozzy gave me a great idea when we were talking about what might look good in the kitchen. He suggested like a poster of different kitchen utensils, and as soon as he said that, I got like a visual image in my mind of what that might look like, kind of sketchy, kind of vintagey, something. It's in there. I get what I'm talking about. And then I guess maybe to go with that, another sketchy drawing, something smaller maybe, of like a fruit or vegetable. It's the kitchen, so something food related. How many pieces am I going to do in there? Okay, I'm liking this layout and this one, so I'm guessing 3 pictures might look good. We'll have to see once I've actually started if it's a bit too much, because it is quite a small space. But if it does work, maybe a couple of objects hung up on the wall as well. We'll see. We've got the basic idea there. I'm thinking big poster, smaller drawing, and maybe like a medium painting. Could have the colours tie in with the blue tiles in there as well, but we'll park that idea for now. That's enough to get started with. Now I need to think about what I'm going to do in the living room. I'm a little bit stuck, to be honest, but I think we can get away with quite a few pieces of art in there. It's quite a big wall, so I think I will go for the gallery wall idea. And when I was talking to Ozzy earlier, I asked if there was anything in particular he might like, since he lives here as well, and he mentioned the work of Mateusz Obanowicz, who is someone that I have mentioned a couple of times on the channel before. Amazing artist who I just have been admiring for years. Ozzy loves his work as well, and I'm sure you'll have seen his work. If nothing else, you will have seen his Tokyo storefronts. And so I had a look on his website and found that he does have some prints up for sale. So I have decided to go for the Tokyo at Night print. I love the look of this, and what I'm going to do is from there visit Imprint, just browse all the prints that they have on there, see if there's anything similar in colour or style that I can sort of tie in, and I'll sort of build from there. Okay, I think I'm done. I had a really hard time whittling it down to just a few, but I think I found the ones that I love the most, and I have gone with one called Wanderlust by Vincent Cecil, Coronet 2 by Emily H, Growth by Christina Chung, and Summertime Oranges by Maggie Chang. Okay, and then to go with those for artwork that I'm going to make myself, so far I'm thinking a drawing of this house that we live in now in the style of my miniature houses. I thought that might go well style-wise with the Mateusz Obanowicz print, and then a couple of little landscape paintings, maybe of places that Ozzy and I have been together. Then maybe something bigger, like my lemon painting. Also, while I was browsing, I saw a framed picture of a page of a book that I thought looked quite nice, and I know that I have quite a few old pages of books here, there and everywhere, so I thought maybe I'll do something like that as well. Just frame one of the pages that I have. And then other than that, I was also kind of thinking that it might be nice to do a portrait of Thierry, but at this point it does sound like I'm doing a bit too much, so we'll see how that all goes. I guess need to stop talking and start shopping. I need to order all of those prints and then frames for everything as well, and then I guess it's time for me to start painting. Sounds like I have a lot to be getting on with. Okay, it's been a few days. I have got some new lamps. What I haven't got is anything else. Yeah, it looks like these deliveries are going to take forever. But in the meantime, I also figured out what I wanted to paint for the kitchen. These beetroots. They may taste like trash, but at least they look nice. And Ozzy loves them. And I have a real-time video of the process of that one if you want like a good hangout background type video. But for the other kitchen piece, something that we both really like is garlic. So I'm going to try and see how a sketch of a garlic bulb will look. It's always really nice having a little personal project like this to work on. There's like the sort of challenge element of setting a brief or a theme or like timeline for the work. So it's like a personal commission, but also because it's going up in my home, even though it is just for me, I still feel enough pressure to do the best that I can. Oh, also, in the meantime, I have actually been accepted for an account on InPrint now, so I'm hoping to get some of the prints of the work that I'm working on in this video up there. I already have my pomegranate painting up and my pothos painting are on there from my last decorating video, so I'll leave a link below and you can see if I've uploaded anything else since then. Okay, what else? I don't know, it's just really relaxing to sketch like this. I love painting and that will always be my favourite, but there is something about the simplicity of pen to paper. I feel like I have to be a lot more mindful because with paint, if I end up doing something wrong, I can just go over it or blend it in, which I do quite often. But with pen, like once a mark is down, that's it, there's no undoing it. And that sounds stressful, but really, when you're in the flow with it, when you're completely present, everything just seems to fall into place really nicely. It's just the best feeling, it's so calming. All right, that's 3 new pieces down, 5 to go. Let's do the landscapes next, tomorrow.
devotion that brings me down. That without my love for the ocean, I will be no one, no
I'm starting to think that I might be doing too much. All of my prints and frames have arrived now, and I'm worried that it's just going to be a bit busy once it's all up on the wall. So what I'm going to do before I do anything else is get all of the art that I have so far into the frames, so hopefully it'll take up a bit less space in here, and then I might lay it out, see what I've got, see how much space it's going to take up on that wall. I also need to choose a book page that I'm going to frame. And then I think the next thing I'll do is work on the kitchen utensil poster. I'm not sure if it's going to fit in there. I feel like it might make that very small room feel even smaller to have loads of stuff on the walls. But we'll see. I'm just going to make the art anyway and see what I end up with. This part didn't go particularly smoothly. I messed up with my measurements somehow and ended up with art that didn't have frames to fit in. Luckily, by chance, a few weeks ago, my mum offered me a frame that she was getting rid of, and that turned out to be the perfect size for the botanical painting. The other issue with the botanical painting was that the colours just didn't work with the rest of the art that I was planning for this gallery wall, which is annoying because I did wing that background colour. I had planned a much more muted colour that I do think would have worked a lot better. But in the moment, while I was painting, went for something brighter and it just didn't work with these pieces. So I think that's going to have to go somewhere else. In the end, I at least didn't need to buy any more frames, so I was happy about that. I tried a few different layouts for the pictures, but I will come back to that. I also forgot about the book page, even though I just mentioned it. So I went and found one from a story called A Willful Young Woman. Does that description apply to me? No comment, but I just thought it would be a funny little thing to have up. I started on the kitchen utensil poster after figuring out the frames and stuff, and I started filming my process the next day. As I said earlier, these biro drawings are such a mindful experience. I decided to set the camera up completely out of the way just so that I could focus on drawing instead of filming, and it went really well. I found with the garlic drawing that I did earlier, I got caught up in the details a bit too early on and it overwhelmed the final piece of it with too much shading. So I started each of these kitchen utensils with just a good outline, and then I tried to be really mindful about how I was filling in each space. You have to have a really light touch with these drawings. Every mark is so impactful, and once you've made something dark, you can't lighten it. So I try to start out as light as I can and gradually darken things where it's needed, and it really worked. I love this one. It's making me want to do more biro drawings. I think my favourites are the bigger corkscrew and the kettle, and maybe the tea strainer as well. I am going to get this up on imprint so that you can get a print of this if you like, but I also think in the near future I will make individual postcards out of these so that maybe you can put them up in your own kitchen in whatever configuration you like. Right, time for the final push. I decided that that was more than enough art, and I was honestly just so eager to finally have things on the walls. So I started with the kitchen because I knew that that would be the simplest one, and the frames were just light enough for me to use command strips to hang them up, so that kept it quite simple. Getting the layout right wasn't the easiest thing in the world because I couldn't test it and step back and see how it looked, but Ozzy said that it looked okay, so I just had to trust him and go for it. He also said that he wants a tattoo of the corkscrew, so that'll be fun. Surprisingly, these pictures had the opposite effect that I thought they would, and they actually made the room feel brighter. I actually think this is my favourite set of pictures in this video now. It just makes the room look a bit more bright and lively, maybe because of the reflection of the window against the picture glass. It really seems to add some space to that room where there wasn't any. Anyway, moving on to the living room, I tested a few layouts on the floor and then just started sticking more command strips here. We'll see how they hold. Some of them weren't the ones that are meant for pictures, so I think I'm gonna have a difficult time getting these off, but that is a problem for another day. I had a picture on my phone of the layout that I planned, so I referred to that whenever I was stuck. And again, I just eyeballed the straightness. I think I more or less got away with it. If I were to do this again, though, I'd probably shift the whole arrangement up a little bit, because I think when we're sitting on the sofa, our heads are probably gonna end up touching some of these frames, and I just don't know how much I trust these command strips to hold forever, especially if they're being jostled around by our heads.
Ooh.
What do you think?
Yeah, it looks sick.
Yeah?
Yeah, it looks sick.
Over here to the window area now. Ozzy's first job as a chef was at the Ivy in Blackheath, and we have a nice memento of that time in this selection of their old menus, which are really beautifully designed. So I pinned those up to decorate the dining area that we have here. I made so many holes trying to get these lined up right and just figure out the different layout. At first I was just going to do 2, and then I thought maybe 3 would work. Luckily they are only just like pin holes. I'll leave a link below to these pin and clip combos. It's really nice touch. But yeah, they'll be easy enough to fill when we come to move out. Would it have been easier, or at least a bit neater, if I had planned this properly and measured things and, you know, used a spirit level and stuff? Yes, definitely. But I don't even have an excuse. I just wanted to crack on with it. I feel like I've been filming this video forever, and I was just so desperate to get everything up on the walls finally. After that, I had to pop over to my mum's to pick up her drill, and this is where things get scary. We're making proper holes in the walls now. So I swapped out the Matisse print here with my botanical painting, and this one was actually quite easy to get up. Okay. The Matisse print got a new unexpected home in the bedroom. Drilling into the chimney breast was not so easy. The plug and screw that I put in here feel secure, but having pictures up just makes me so paranoid. I was actually thinking of having that Matisse print over the bed. I think it probably would have looked better there, but the thought of that big heavy frame crashing down on me while I'm lying on bed, it's just not worth it for me. Like, old Victorian buildings, crumbly walls. I've never actually had a picture come off the walls before. I've never had it like rip itself out of the wall, but I just don't trust it. It'll happen one day. So yeah, it's not above the bed, it's by the side. It probably won't fall out, but if it does, it's not gonna fall on my face. Anyway, I'm rambling now. So that about sums things up. It is so nice to have things up on the wall. It really feels like so much more of a home, like our home. And it's gonna take a little bit of getting used to. I have to say, this room feels a little bit smaller I don't know if it's just because I'm so used to that whole wall behind me being so stark white. Things are a bit more closed in, but a bit cozier now as well, and a bit more colourful. It's been a really productive project altogether. I think the kitchen poster especially is something that I would not normally have done, but it turned out to be my favourite thing, and it's making me want to do more artwork like that. And if you're interested in getting any prints from the artwork that I've made today, please do remember to check out my imprint and to also check out the other artists that were featured. Everything will be listed in the description below. But other than that, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I hope you've had a really fun time watching, because I've had quite a fun time doing it all, and I will see you soon for the next video.